We good?
Yes.
All right. Evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 7th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Given that our only Zoom attendant is one of our members, I'll try to expedite this. As always, this meeting will be broadcast on YouTube and the city's public access channel. For those joining on Zoom, please keep yourself muted unless you're speaking. If you're having any issues, send a chat to me. We'll try to fix that on the spot. And then, as always, the city reserves the right to mute or remove members from the Zoom. And then we don't have any regular agenda items tonight, but if there were, we would call for board members in person and then on Zoom as well. And with that, I'll Catherine, if you'd like to check for quorum.
Yeah, Catherine Weeks, staff liaison. Palos?
Here.
Peterson?
Here.
Rankin?
Here.
Shalinski?
Here.
Shanuda?
Here.
Sinkler?
Here.
And Watkins.
Here.
So we do have quorum. So I'll turn it over to the chair.
All right. We're starting the November Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Just going down the list, looking at communications. Is there any communications that have come before the board?
There are no communications to come before the board this evening.
All right. Do any board members have any communications to disclose? All right. And I'm going to go and say that there are probably no agenda items that will be deferred, as we're just approving minutes and the calendar.
That would be correct, Chair.
All right. Let's roll on through to the minutes. We had a few of these come up last month, but we wanted to wait to make sure everybody who was in attendance for the original meetings to be able to weigh in to approve or question, comment on the meeting minutes. So I guess let's get started going through the minutes if that's acceptable.
Yeah, I think if you want to ask, maybe if there's any questions or discussions about any of the dated minutes, we can go down the list if there's discussion, or we can have a motion if there's not. You know.
All right, do we have a motion to go through minutes?
A motion that we go through the minutes. Are we going to do them individually? Is that the?
I think the plan would probably be best just to do individually based on who was in attendance and who was not, unless
Okay.
anybody thinks we should just do all of them at once.
Barry, do you have some edits for it?
Yeah, I have some corrections and questions.
Okay. Would you like to do that one by one by each meeting minute, or just all at once now? I'll let you.
Either way, starting with the most recent one, which is October of 2024, the minutes say that I was present, but I was not present.
Okay.
And I think I sent a letter and asked that the reason for my absence be noted, which it was not. That reason being that it was the holiday of Rosh Hashanah when the meeting was held, and I don't attend meetings on Jewish holidays, or not major ones. Then, despite the fact that I was not present at the meeting on one of the items, I'm trying to find it, it said that I had seconded a motion.
Saw that.
Yeah, it looks like on the defer, the December 7th, 2023, and January 4th, 2024 minutes. Yeah, Watkins motioned, and I forget who seconded, but I'd agree it was not you.
Yeah, we can obviously correct that.
So,
I'm showing Watkins and Shanuda, oh yeah, and Shalinski. That's probably a typo from the person who transcribed it. So, yeah, we can definitely get that corrected.
so anyway, those would be my corrections to that one.
And while we're in this one, I don't believe I voted to approve any minutes because I was not a part of those.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get those corrected, and we'll bring October, well, we can also approve with those corrections, so that will be up to you all. If you want to do the approval with those corrections noted, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I would be fine with that as long as we get to look at it and see that it was actually done.
You can bring it back if you want. We can bring that one back.
Okay.
I mean, just so, otherwise, I think they're posted on the webpage, but it may be a bit, so we can bring it back at the next meeting if you want to look at it.
After that, it's, for me, going back to September 2022. And that one indicates that we elected Nate Clark as temporary chair on the basis that the chair and vice chair were both absent from the meeting. But when you go to the top line, it says that only Wisner was absent from the meeting.
Okay.
So either someone else was absent from the meeting, or we wouldn't have needed to elect a temporary chair. So that's kind of my main question with regard to that one. On its face, there's something there that doesn't add up.
Yes.
I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'm posing it as a question.
Yeah, I
I kind of thought Herod was the chair at that time, but I may be misremembering.
I do think Herod was the chair,
Yeah.
so I will double check that. But we will also get that one corrected, yeah. Do you want me to have that one brought back too, so you guys can look at it?
I think it probably should be.
Okay.
Finally, we've got March and July, and both of those have two items in common, which are 815 Ohio and 2200 West 25th. As I recall, the reason for that is that there was a notice publication problem. Again, I may be misremembering because that's going back a ways, but if so, I think it would probably be a good idea to note that somewhere so that if somebody is, reading this in 5 years from now and like wondering, why did this happen? It would be clear why we would consider the same thing and take a vote 2 times on the exact same application. The other thing that I have really is just stylistic. When you look at board members present and absent, sometimes it'll say, well, like on this one, which I guess is September, present, Gardner, Clark, board member Shalinski, Hill, board member Rankin, Harrod. It's like, I just think it probably doesn't matter for these, but for future reference, either just put everyone's name or put everyone's name with the title board member. It doesn't read very well to, mix and match. Sorry, I read these things carefully, and so I come up with what seems like nitpicking, but I kind of think that's my job, so.
If you don't mind me mentioning it, so this is generated from our agenda program, so I will actually make that note because it may be happening on more minutes than just ours, now that you've pointed it out. So I will definitely make that note and see if we can get it consistent across the top.
It also might be nice to note who is the chair and co-chair.
We don't necessarily do that again, this is a program that's generating this information, so that may not be something that's easily facilitated.
Fair.
And the chair is listed on the roster, but yeah, I can make that comment, but I'm not sure that can be accomplished. But I definitely think that the consistency of listing the names should be able to be accomplished, so.
Anyway, thank you all for your indulgence. That, I think, is everything that I had.
Excellent.
Those are good comments, though. That's what we need. That's why we have them come before you guys, to make sure that we've captured everything accordingly, so.
Barry, are you proposing that they fix these and bring them back before the next meeting?
That might be a better way to handle it.
So.
There were
just
some
those
that I
four.
had no comments on, so we could approve those, or we could just come back and do the whole package. I'm okay either way.
I think staff would prefer if you would approve the ones that you can, and that way we have less to sort through on the next agenda, if that behooves the board.
Okay, so,
I can list out the dates too, if that would help.
in that case, I would make a motion that we approve January 4th, should we do these individually, or
I think you can do it
the
in one.
package of what's left?
I think you can do it one.
Packaging would be fast.
Okay, then my motion will be to approve January 4th, 2024, December 7th, 2023, November 3rd, 2022, October 6th, 2022, August 4th, 2022, and the sign code board, April 7th, 2022, which would mean that not included would be March, July, September of 2022, and the most recent one, October of '24.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I have a question. For those of us that weren't here for these meetings, go ahead and vote on them?
That's up to you. If you read them or you remember, you can do that. That's your call.
I would just note, I appeared as a representative for some of the people that were seeking variances. As long as we've got a majority vote here, I would just abstain from these. I support all the motion, or all the minutes, but a little weird to be on the other side of some of these minutes and then be approving them later on, so I'll just abstain.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we have a motion. We have a couple comments. Do we have a second?
I second.
Staff, could you call
Yeah, I
roll?
think I'll have a show of hands. If you can
Okay.
raise your hands for, I'll do it that way.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, motion carries. It was 6-1.
Excellent. All right. Moving on to the next section, public hearing. There's no items listed. I'm not seeing anyone in person. Is there anybody on Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom, Chair.
All right, thank you. Moving to our last item, to approve the 2025 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting calendar.
Move to approve it.
All right.
Gonna be all right, January 2nd?
Is it January 2nd?
Yeah.
It is a January 2nd.
There's a couple of those.
I'm just
I
want
may
to
not
make
be there.
sure.
There's a July 3rd and a September 4th.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just
let's-
wanting to make sure those dates are,
Okay.
I mean, but like
I didn't look at it
Patrick
that
said,
close,
July
obviously.
3rd, really a lot of, some of us might be out of town, but
Catherine, what do you, are these calendars already vetted for those particular dates, or is there anything to look out for when you guys set the?
We definitely look out for those. In this case, we went ahead and did it. Sometimes we'll bump the July one, since this is prior to, like if it was the day after, we might bump it, but it's prior to, we didn't bump it. January 2nd is, it's up to you. We left them in there, but we definitely look at those. I think there was something in November too, that was like the day after Thanksgiving. I think the submittal deadline or application deadline was like right at Thanksgiving, but we figured we'll go ahead and leave it because we can accept it the following Monday if the office is closed that Friday, so.
I'll say that January date, I will likely be out of the country, so if you choose to have it, I won't be present.
Yeah, and if there's a significant number of board members that, are not going to be there, then we would definitely try to move it a week or something if we can.
The January date, I may or may not be attending. I'm going to be on an airplane that day. I can probably Zoom in, but that's assuming that there's not some sort of travel issue. So that's potentially iffy. October, I would note, that date is Yom Kippur, but that will not affect me because I think I term out in September. But that is information for you all to consider or not, as you wish.
Are these dates something that regularly get postponed the meeting before? Or, I mean, if we approved this draft calendar, does it preclude us from making adjustments in later meetings?
You would have to reapprove, like, so we would have to bring it back if you're going to make any changes. I will say the only thing we would need to check is if you're, like, make a recommendation that we move the January 2nd meeting to the following week, we would just have to double check that we have the room available or, we have space available. So we would just have to do the checking. But that's certainly, we can bring it back next month if we need to, and if you're suggesting we make a change.
The only thing I would, the left column down, the last two, January and February, it's listed as 2025, but it should be, that'll be 2026, like it's shown in the next column on the far right.
Oh, you're right, yeah. It is shown as 26 on the far column, but yes, that would be a correction, so I'll get that fixed.
I'm fine.
Yep.
So I guess, kind of following on the previous topic, so could we elect to, like, say, we don't want to even consider January 2nd, let's move it to January 9th, or is it?
Yeah, I think if you're leaning that way on moving that one, I think you would make the motion to approve the calendar with a change January 9th, and then assuming that's fine, we'll confirm for you next month that yes, that's fine. If it's not fine, we'll bring it back to you again, and you can approve a different date. So,
Shouldn't the far left column be 26 as well, at the bottom?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's what-
yeah,
That's what you just said? Okay.
yeah, that's what we just said.
Okay, I heard only the far right column.
Oh, yeah, the far right is good, it's the far left.
So, yeah, if you're,
I'm just gonna say,
yeah, go ahead.
that sounds reasonable, just since it sounds like both Barry and Haley were gonna be out on January 2nd, maybe we just push that one to the 9th, but leave the rest as they are for now.
I'd propose doing that, and then I would change July 3rd to July 10th, just because I think that's going to be a long holiday for everyone. July 3rd is a Thursday, July 4th is a Friday.
Okay, that'll be a long, yeah.
All right, is everybody kind of,
Well, and if we know that October date is also a holiday, should we just go ahead and move that one a week as well, since we're doing that with some other dates? Is that,
was it someone,
it was
the
the
board?
October 2nd was mentioned as a potential holiday date?
Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, Barry, are you still going to be on? Are you still going to be on the board then?
No, I'm not.
But there are, I mean,
But there are-
applicants and others.
There may or may not be applicants or members of the public that would be
Yeah.
affected by that.
Yeah, it would, to be inclusive and mindful, I think we're doing it with some other dates, might be a good idea to just go ahead and move that one.
Sounds good.
So I would move to approve the draft calendar, moving January, July, and October's dates one week back.
Second.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Staff, do you just show
Show of hands? Mhm. And motion carries 7-0.
All right, that takes us through all of the scheduled items.
I have a question
Right.
for staff. The lawsuit that was filed against us by Marcy Francisco and Company, status of that?
I have no update.
That's been almost a year ago, I think.
What was the last update, Catherine?
Possible, I forget the terms.
There's a motion for reconsideration.
Motion for reconsideration, but I have not heard an update.
They denied, the judge denied it.
Okay.
And the appeal rights have run, so that case is over.
It's over. Oh,
I
okay.
think I got a copy of the motion, I guess the judge's ruling on the motion just a couple weeks ago, but it was filed in like April or May. So this is kind of a surprise to me because there's a 6-month delay before it actually got to me. Barry, had you heard anything about that?
I have heard that there was a motion for rehearing that the judge is considering, but this judge doesn't seem to move very quickly. If I were to speculate, and speculating is always a dangerous thing, I think the judge may be waiting to see if the city just changes the parking requirements and then it becomes a non-issue.
I'll forward this to Catherine and to you, Barry, but
But
the
again,
plan-
speculation is dangerous.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the motion. It's got a file stamp on it. It was electronically filed on April 25th of '24, and it's journal entry denying plaintiff's motion for reconsideration.
Okay,
So I'm confident that this is accurate, but I'll forward it to you guys so you can have it.
that would make it final then, unless there's an appeal.
I did hear that between our last meeting and this hearing.
I don't have anything further.
All right, excellent. Any other comments, questions from the board?
Just usual at the end of the meeting, I like to let you know if we think we have items coming up. I think we do have one signed code variance that may be coming in December.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one other update. In the next month or so, we will be looking at the bylaws, not for radical changes, but just for policy type changes for like things like attendance and number of missed absences and things like that, to align it with what the city is doing for the group of boards that are not state statute mandated, just so that the policy pieces are the same. It won't be we won't be making any changes to structure of the board or anything that's outlined in state statute. And the way that works is, staff will draft those changes and we'll bring it to you for one agenda meeting where you can discuss and look it over and all that. But then we have to actually wait until the next meeting to adopt a new set of bylaws because it requires 1 month for consideration. So
Could I ask a question about that? It seems like a lot of bodies permit public comment just sort of generically on non-agenda items, and we don't have provision for that in our agendas. I'm not sure whether the bylaws do or don't. Would that be because we are more of a quasi-judicial and less of a policy board, or is that just kind of an oversight? And is that something that we want to talk about or not? I'm just throwing that out there.
I can answer that if you want an answer today. So yes, it's absolutely because we are, the board is a quasi-judicial board. The board is designed to only hear those items that come before it. The whole structure of how you are incorporated by state statute and by our code, which adopts the language of the state statute, and in your bylaws, which, you could look at it any time, but we'll bring them here before you. But basically, that is your purview. Your purview is for the agenda items that are to be discussed. You're not a policy or a recommending board, so that's why it's different.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion, comment on that? All right, excellent. Okay. Well, so I think that would wrap up the meeting. Do we have a motion to end?
A motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Thanks.
You can show of hands. I'm sure.
Patrick is ready.
Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi, Darren. Thank you.
Yep.
Good job.
See you guys.
Good night.
Bye.
All right.